What is up, everyone? It is Lovenji Gaming, and I am back with another episode of our classic RTS series. We're taking on the third Brotherhood of Nod Covert Operations mission here. Eviction Notice, I believe it is called. You take the role of a devious Nod commander who has to evict civilians from their home. This is probably the longest of their covert operation missions, so we will see how much talking I end up doing for it. Without further ado, let's get this underway. What is up, everyone? It is Lovenji Gaming here, and, well, here we are. We are here with Eviction Notice. We've got a lot of flame tanks, and you can start to see why we have so many. We've got to evict a innocent village from its village so that we can build a base. We're going to be using the flame tanks to take care of the key structures. There's a couple of money crates hidden within this village, as well as building territory. Now, flame tanks are very bad against tanks, as you can see, as we try to take out a mammoth tank with flame tanks. We get there in the end, and we've only lost one flame tank so far, so I tend to consider that a bit of a success. Now we're going to move away from that flame tank because it has tip fields secured. That flame tank is going to burn the oil for us, and we're actually going to keep moving past the village. The mission text itself recommends that you settle in the village. We're not going to do that because the village is quite a hard location to secure. And you can already see the kind of level we're going to be playing, because the very second that we form our construction yard, we almost lose it to an airstrike. Which, you know, is about right for a Brotherhood of Nod mission. They're really quite difficult. So we're going to take out that Humvee. And we're going to move all our flame tanks up towards our base, and we're going to start putting down gun turrets. Unfortunately, I placed the gun turret out of range. So we sell the Hand of Nod to get some money back, and also it forces the medium tank to move within range of the turret. We use the turret's build radius to place a harvester really out towards the two tip fields here. This is probably the most technical opening of the levels, because you have to place everything in a specific way to get the maximum efficiency out of what you've built, to actually even be able to survive the Brotherhood of Nod's attacks. We're going to be seeing attacks from MRLS systems, mammoth tanks, light tanks, and infantry. So anything we can handle without using our flame tanks is great. And you can see here we've got a gun turret. They just found 2 more tanks. These tanks are all very static, and it's important to clear them up as quickly as possible. I don't know what I'm doing here. You should have the gun turret finish off the weaker tank first, but it is not shooting it, so that might be why I changed the targeting. We've taken out another 2 tanks. We've taken out 4 medium tanks with our careful turret placement. We can rebuild the Hand of Nod because we're going to need rocket soldiers potentially. And we're immediately teching up to comm center even before we have the airstrip placed down. 2 refineries working with 2 harvesters, that's pretty good for us. You know, the reason that we're doing this is because there were light tanks here, whereas, as you can see, the bottom tip fields are protected by mammoth tanks. They're quite hard and quite costly to clear, especially with the starting units that you have available to you. Whereas this gives us much more access to the map and much more access to the tib field as well. We do have to be careful because we are exposed. We can still get attacked from all sides here. Well, all but east because we're building at the edge of the map. We're going to start working on our airstrip now. I don't know whether this is true or not, but when I build in this particular way, I tend to find that the AI is much slower about attacking you. It will attack you still, but it takes its time doing so. It's used to you evicting the entire village. Another thing that's helpful about this is the AI lands groups of engineers in the village to capture your structures. This gives you a lot more time to not have to deal with that because you're not in the village, so therefore it's not landing engineers directly behind your base, just landing engineers somewhere vaguely close by. Now, our flame tanks are going to fight a valiant fight here. They are going to lose. 2 medium tanks and an MRLS is absolutely going to tear flame tanks apart. But the MRLS does target the gun turret, and the gun turret is going to fight the medium tank and actually be victorious for us. So these gun turrets are very crucial. They're very important to keeping ourselves alive. We can produce our first light tank, an actual tank. Definitely need tanks for this level. You cannot do this with just base defenses. Here's more infantry. Taken care of nice and easily. That gun turret is absolutely going to lose a 1v1 to a mammoth tank. So we're going to send our 2 light tanks up there now as well, now that it's been softened up by the gun turret. We've also got a gun turret that's almost ready to complete. The important thing about how you do this mission is making sure that your base defenses are as short up as possible. Now, we almost lose both of our light tanks there. But we protect our refinery. These refineries are crucial here in how we're surviving. It's very important to keep our refineries operational as much as possible, even if it requires sacrificing some of our troops. As you can see, money and resources are really quite tight on this level. This tactically placed flame tank is very useful. It has low health, but it doesn't need to have a bulk of health because infantry generally don't get the chance to shoot it back. And this was also the importance of keeping the flame tanks alive. If you remember, we probably could have suicided all the tanks into the mammoth tank, but then we wouldn't have any up and running to deal with all this infantry. You know, they have more than paid for themselves in the amount of infantry that they have actually taken out.
Reinforcements have arrived.
So, true GDI fashion, they have access to the ion cannon. The ion cannon will periodically strike a structure. It will prioritize targeting base defenses. Gun turret is obviously a base defense that it will prioritize. If not, it will then hit your airstrip or your refineries.
Construction complete. Building.
Now, we've got enough tanks that we can start engaging these light tanks. You know, we are going to lose a couple. Light tanks are awful. But with a good grouping of tanks, we can start to move around the map and clear up additional tib fields. You remember, one of the challenges, or one of the reasons that we picked this location, is the freedom of the Tiberium that we have available to us. That hasn't changed. As you can see, we have one Tiberium field that we have completely mined out. We finally lost both our flame tanks, unfortunately. We're probably going to lose our refinery here. As you can see, this is quite rough what we're doing here. We are trying really hard to keep ourselves alive. We even lose a refinery there, but that's fine because we keep the harvester. Well, no, we didn't, because the harvester was in the refinery when it blew up. I don't know what I'm talking about. Ignore me. No. But the biggest part of this level is exactly that. You're turtling up until you find success. Now, that mammoth tank comes into the range of 2 gun turrets. 2 gun turrets will rip it apart easily, but we have lost pretty much our entire army, as well as a little bit of our economy.
Construction complete. Reinforcements have arrived.
So, our flame tank is very useful, so we want to try to allow it to be as cost effective as its predecessors were.
Reinforcements have arrived.
And we're slowly building armies of tanks so that we can go around and clear up other Tiberium fields, as well as explore the map a little bit. GDI have a lot of static units located all over the map.
Building.
Ideally, we could do with extra harvesters and an extra refinery. We did have an extra refinery, but we did lose it. But with 5 light tanks, you know, we've got a good army at this point. We're a lot less vulnerable than we were, you know, 5 minutes ago. We can even afford a second mammoth flame tank to deal with infantry. Now, I make the mistake of keeping all my tanks grouped up there. You really shouldn't do that on the grounds that GDI still have access to the airstrike, which does a lot of damage, of course. A couple of tanks slipping in from the southern border. We have an army to deal with them now. We don't have to worry about taking too much structure damage from them. We'll lose a couple of the tanks here because GDI's military is just far superior to the Brotherhood of Nods. Now we have a stealth tank. The purpose of the stealth tank is exactly as you would expect from this kind of unit. We can start to remove the shroud. Now, Original Command & Conquer is a game that does not regrow the shroud. So we're able to just go and explore the entire map and then see what's what. See what static units GDI have out and about on the field. We'll also be able to see any attacks coming our way. So there's some of the static units, these grenadiers. You remember this is our starting position, so that is very much to discourage you from going in that direction. So, very important when you're doing this level to keep an eye on your base, because the GDI attacks don't ever really stop. You know, and they come at you in quite a good number as well. You know, they're quite punishing. Your flame tank should always endeavour to try to intercept the infantry and kill them. Otherwise, you end up in this position where, you know, these grenadiers are actually doing a number on my tanks. Mammoth tanks, MRLSs. Your flame tanks can take fights with MRLSs as well. They're very effective against the rocket systems and can destroy them in a couple of salvos of flame. But once again, you know, badly commanding the army means we lose a lot of it. We do keep the harvesters alive, which is important. And instead of harvesting that distant field, I really should be harvesting the fields closer to me. But a lot of this mission, and a lot of what makes this mission so long, is that we're basically trying to survive. We're trying to stretch the mission out until such a point that we have a fortified position that we can hold indefinitely, and then we can start to lead the attack on GDI's base, because what you don't see is whatever little they're attacking us with. They have way more just sat outside their production structures in their base. That's where teching up will start to help us as well. So we're going to pull the light tanks back because they're fighting infantry, which is always bad. Our flame tank will tidy up the mess. Once again, GDI are going to hit us with an ion cannon at the worst possible time. It's a very good anti-turtling strategy. So you're probably there remembering this game from your childhood going, why aren't you building the Obelisk of Light? That stuff's OP. The Obelisk of Light is a very powerful structure, but it costs $1,500 credits, whatever currency the game is in. That's a lot of money that we just don't have available to us at the moment. And GDI is only going to ion cannon it the second we build one anyway. Whereas these gun turrets, you know, the amount of them we're building, they're still not cheap. But they do a lot more work before they get struck down by the giant space laser of doom. Now you can start to see where GDI are harvesting, and that does have importance to us, because one of the ways you can take out an AI is to starve its economy. In fact, that's the best way to take out an AI. The AI follows the same economic rules as the player. It has an economy the same as the player, and so if you kill its harvesters repeatedly, it will actually run out of money and can be treated like a player that's got no money. And it will allow you to take control of the map as well. So we're just understanding the shape of the map that little bit more. You can start to see how GDI tanks are moving around the map. Now, fortunately for us, they do one thing, and that is they leave their ion cannon very exposed to flame tank strikes from the back. So yes, it's exactly as you can imagine. You can actually destroy that structure from behind. You do have to be careful because GDI will defend it if you've been shooting there long enough. So you have to remember to get the stealth tank and make it invisible again, or that, there you go, you just heard me lose it. There's an MRLS shooting from behind the structure. They'll do that a lot. Now, I make the decision to make GDI very angry here and destroy one of their harvesters. And as you can see, I've received the typical GDI, or typical AI response, because the Brotherhood Nod will do it too, of, how dare you, here's everything I've got. Really shouldn't have done this without having at least one flame tank. As you can see, the infantry are wreaking havoc. But we do manage to hold just about. We lose all of our units. Probably going to lose a gun turret in the north as well. Oh no, we just about keep it. As you can see, we take a lot of damage, and we didn't even get the harvester. That's the key thing. We didn't even manage to take out that harvester. We're going to build a second stealth tank because we're going to continue to try to take out that ion cannon from behind. Very important that you do that so that you can actually get some longevity out of your base defenses. And you can't ever stop GDI from... Go too close to the base defenses. You can't ever stop GDI from airstriking you, but you can stop them from using the ion cannon in certain levels. Certain levels they have the trigger indefinitely, but in this level they will I believe they will actually stop ion cannoning you if you take out the structure. The structure is placed in such a way that it can be assassinated. And you'll find this is a key theme of Brotherhood of Nod levels throughout both their campaign and their covert operations. You know, they want you to play with that skill of the Brotherhood that is their subterfuge, their sneakiness. They want you to find and isolate weak points in bases and take advantage of it instead of just going, I have really big tanks. Because I have really big tanks, your base will die. Which is trademark for how GDI missions tend to play out. It's like, we've got tanks, we've got money, good luck. Now, we have made them angry by targeting their harvesters once again. So much so that we've got a couple of units trying to hunt us down. And our harvesters are a little low. And they're getting dangerously close to the GDI base. So a little bit of manual control there, just to send them out towards a location that we know is safer. I don't think anywhere on this map is particularly safe, but it's certainly safer. We're going to try to take out this harvester. At the same time, you know, we've been keeping the GDI very busy. That hopefully they've been ignoring the damage that we're doing to their ion cannon. Now we're taking a lot of structural damage here. I think this is the point I do remember. There's a point where I agitate GDI a bit too much and take a lot of damage and a lot of casualties. And this might be one of those points. You know, I've just seen that we've lost our stealth tank in the minimap. We lost all of our tanks. Our base defenses will hold. You know, we very almost got that structure. We did get the GDI harvester. That's important. We actually did pick up a harvester. They do have more, and they will replace that one as well.
Reinforcements have arrived.
But our strategy at the moment is pretty straightforward. We're trying to assassinate. I say assassinate, it's a structure. We're trying to demolish from behind this ion cannon building. I believe it's called the Advanced Comm Center, actually. It's not called the ion cannon building at all. So there you go, you can see that same thing that we were trying to avoid before. All you have to do is move away and then move back. And while we're getting value out of this stealth tank, you know, he's forcing GDI to repair this. This does cost money. Yeah, it does pay to repair its structures the same as a player does. When units start to get close, just go invisible. They'll lose target of you and they'll go find something else to shoot. As you can see, they've picked a random spot in my base. And then just move back and start whittling away again. MRLS units are the units you have to be careful of. Humvees are, you know, they're Humvees. They're not really scary at all. Your stealth tank could even fight a Humvee if it so wanted. The medium tank we were worried about, but again, chip away at the building, go stealth again. I am selling the comm center because I can kind of see the map at this point, and I need more tanks. Do lose that harvester because unfortunately it was a low life harvester. As you can see, money is very tight in this level, and if we hadn't cleared the other Tiberium fields with our aggressive plays, money would be even tighter than this, and you can see we've got barely any money as it is anyway. Now we have taken out another harvester for GDI, which is always good. They're going to retaliate with units, as they always do. So we're going to try and pull these tanks back, making sure to shoot as we do so. Continuing to soften up the GDI forces. And the way I've built the defense is we basically have the gun turrets protect the north. And our units protect everything else. Very, very close there. Very dangerous. Almost lost the stealth tank to that MRLS there just before it took the advanced comm center. And there you go. We take out the advanced comm center. We take out GDI's ability to use its ion cannon, as far as I remember. But we're now in a point where we are very low economy situation. You know, we're trying to wait till we get some money in. Fortunately, that MRLS goes too close. I cancelled the tank because I see a mammoth tank coming, and I want those funds to be available for me to sell, basically. I want to be able to repair structures, and I fail on selling that turret because instead of using the sell hotkey, I like clicking. And because I like clicking, I misclick repeatedly. So we could just replace that turret like it's nothing. You know, we're starting to have the funds available to us now. So the assaults of the infantry continue. The waves of medium tanks and MRLS systems also continue. We're going to use our medium tank to run all of those grenadiers over once they're fixated on the turrets. Trying to make sure we continue to squash the infantry to stop the turrets focusing on the infantry, but you can see the gun turrets really want to focus on random units of infantry. So, the way the base defenses work for the two nations is GDI's base defenses are incredibly effective against infantry, while the Brotherhood of Nods are very effective against tanks. That plays into how the AI tends to play and attack, because Brotherhood of Nods attacks are very infantry focused with the power of their Flame Soldier. GDI does use infantry as well, but equally Nod uses tanks as well. But the superior unit for GDI is in fact their tanks. You know, they have the medium tanks, they have the mammoth tank, of course. And now this is where it gets creative. You may notice we have lost all of our refineries. We just about keep that obelisk of light alive. And we just about secure the funds to build another refinery. And what's more is we can actually build that closer to the Tiberian. So, interesting position for us now. We've got a lot of infantry, but we don't have much else. So our plan is to keep that infantry moving so it doesn't shoot. Now, you may wonder, Lovenji, why didn't you just capture that refinery back? The reason we don't just recapture that refinery back is actually because GDI are going to use it. The AI doesn't have good common sense to go, this is a safe refinery or this is a dangerous refinery. They'll just go, that's the closest refinery, let's use it. So we actually get to establish base defenses around their refinery, and instead of having to send our own tanks out to hunt harvesters, the harvesters will come directly to us. And that's the power of this sort of tactical decision that we're making here. It would have been easier, and it would have been more cost effective, and we would have kept the other obelisk had we just captured that back. But this gives us a great advantage to just have our obelisk of light pick up harvesters, just like that. Additionally, because GDI have lost their advanced communication center, we get to hide behind an obelisk of light, and that is a beautiful thing. You don't get to do very often as the Brotherhood of Nod. Very rarely do you get to hide behind this beautiful structure. I believe, for me, and for a lot of people, the Obelisk of Light was that iconic base defense. We all remember it. We all remember how scary it was, or how cool it was, because it shot lasers.
Construction complete.
And
Building.
it's just good for us. We've got another one queued up, so we can decide where we want to place it based on where GDI attack us. So you see that it's 2 shots tanks. It's so good, so good. Or rather, for us, we always look to that base defense as it's so good. Now, when it comes to how to actually deal with the Obelisk of Light, you may have seen it in a few other levels. It's not hard to do at all. You just send a lot of infantry. You know, there's a lot of wind-up between each attack. So units en masse, you can use tanks, but they're quite expensive. So just, you know, minigunners en masse will tear an Obelisk of Light apart because it's limited on how frequently it can shoot. The other weakness of the Obelisk of Light is, of course, how much power it uses. They use an obscene amount of power because they shoot raw energy.
Construction complete.
So we're just going to make sure we have plenty of power available, and we're going to rebuild our airstrip. We have an economy set up now. You know, we've got 2 refineries once again. I think we're running 2 harvesters from 2 refineries. The infantry are just a token force to help us deal with any infantry that might attack us, but don't go immediately towards the obelisks of light. As you can see, with obelisks of light set up, we are comfortable. You know, we are not in a position where we are worried that we are going to be suddenly overrun and killed. That silo in our sight gives us a rough indication of how much money the AI has. When they start to show up as half full like that, it means they're starting to spend their money. If it was glowing bright green, it means all of its harvesters are close to full, if not full. Each harvester holds 1,000 credits, I believe. We're just going to finish exploring the map. You know, we know where GDI's base is at this point. You can see it. They tuck themselves up in that northwestern corner.
Construction complete. New construction option. Building.
And just like that, we're at a point where we can build tanks again. So it's a bit of a back and forth, this map, purely because of the economic status you're put into. You know, you're put into this low economy status, and you're forced to use your resources as efficiently as possible. There were quite a few mistakes made by me in this particular playthrough. I didn't want to do a complete perfect playthrough because, well, nobody is perfect when it comes to how they would do these levels. I wanted to show you how to handle some of the things that might go wrong as well. But you get the general idea. You could definitely take this as a rough guide and execute on the level better than I did, for sure. But now that we have knowledge of the GDI base, and I'm trying to get out some extra harvesters so that we can get a good flow of cash. I'm going to see if that harvester goes close enough to our obelisk. It doesn't. I'm going to use my stealth tank to poke at the harvester. Units below 50% HP get a movement speed reduction. They also start smoking. You may have seen and noticed the smoke and thought that's a pretty cool visual effect. It does actually affect the unit. The more damaged the unit is, you know, once it goes below a certain health threshold, it moves slower. When that's particularly pertinent when it comes to economic vehicles like the harvester, because of course if it moves slower, it gathers slower, and your economy gets significantly slowed down by that fact. And we can use our stealth tank to try and assassinate harvesters. You know, it can fire a couple of shots and then disappear completely. What we want is for that GDI harvester to go into range of our obelisk, and it is going to. So it disappears. It is removed from play. And that's kind of what we're doing at this stage of the game. We are waiting to see where GDI harvesters show up so that we can take them out. Gotta be careful. I was trying to get a sneaky attack, but as you can see, AGTs cover the borders of the base pretty well. I'm going to throw this stealth tank away, hoping that it reveals stuff. But there was way too much there for me to have ever run that by them successfully. I don't know really why I tried.
Construction complete. Reinforcements covered.
But our obelisks of light are useful structures here. They're going to get so much value for themselves now that the ion cannon is out of play. Training tanks to find GDI harvesters so that we can kill GDI harvesters so that we can resource starve the AI. And that's kind of the game plan that we're going for here. Of course, GDI does have a significant amount of infantry. Always very annoying having to deal with infantry as the Brotherhood of Nod. I made a little mistake there by being too slow. If you have infantry within 1 tile of an enemy harvester and they shoot the harvester will try to run them over. So the plan there was to get the infantry to shoot the harvester, then select them manually and get them to move away from the harvester, so that the harvester would continue to try to crush them, whilst the tanks whittled away at its HP and eventually took it out. That was the plan. Obviously that didn't happen in practice, but the thought was there.
Building.
So GDI keeps quite a few units directly outside of its base, but the amount of tanks that we are now being able to build means that we are able to actually have a proper anti-harvester hit squad.
Building. Reinforcements have arrived.
You know, they can take fights against single medium tanks easily. Really what I should have done to be smart was mix in a couple of flame tanks. The reason we mix in the flame tanks is just to deal with this swathe of infantry that is currently being thrown at us. GDI can't really afford tanks anywhere near as much as it can currently afford infantry. So there's a lot of infantry being thrown at us in counter. One of the other things you could do, if you had the money, which we don't, is build a Temple of Nod. That free nuke, the GDI base is quite packed. You can pretty much eliminate GDI from the game with a Temple of Nod nuclear warhead. There is a little bit of back and forthing with this level, and this AI in particular. They're quite well fortified, and the placement of the tib fields makes them hard to grab. I suppose to summarise, if you know we're halfway through this video, if not further, building where I built is probably the most important thing to do, and getting those early gun turrets up. You need ways to hold your position, and you need secure tib fields, and that location gives you the most safe tib fields versus actually building in the village, which is what the mission text suggests. The mission text suggests you burn the village to the ground and use their village as a base, and the mountains provide you walls to hide behind, which sounds great. You think, yeah, walls, less places to be attacked from, but you don't have the economy in that village, and you just end up in this position where you can't protect your harvesters. The AI starve you for cash, and then they ion cannon you to death, because you've got no way to keep production up. And even if you don't have base defenses, the AI will ion cannon your mining structures as well. They will ion cannon your refineries if they don't have targets. So I recognise the lack of efficiency that we're getting out of our troops, mostly because I'm too stupid to build a flame tank. I'm watching this back and just thinking, what was I doing? Really, just build a flame tank, guys. And so instead of building a flame tank, I decided to build a repair pad. You know, flame tank's much cheaper than a repair pad, plus it doesn't come with the cost of repair, but hey. We're not perfect. We're once again building our tech structure of the comm center. We want the minimap available so we can capture information on any harvesters that have left the base. Pulling the infantry into the Obelisk of Light, just because we can. So I'm building in power before I set up the nuke site, because I don't want my obelisks to go offline. They're still the thing that's keeping us alive. You know, we could still lose this mission if we were to lose our obelisks. It's just very important that we keep them alive. Now we're going all the way to the bottom. We're going to start repairing these tanks. Woohoo! Getting our units back. So, there's a moment of silence in all the fighting. That's just as we rest. Rest my voice, in fact, because I've just been talking for 40 minutes non-stop. But also, we're just repairing our tanks, and we're waiting for the Temple of Nod. Now, there you can see some of the helicopter landings that I talked about previously.
Building. On
If you
hold. Cancel. Building.
stay in the village, they will do that land much, much earlier. As you said, we can just place 3 tanks like this, and now they can't get in.
Reinforcements have arrived.
It's beautiful. And that was what inspired me to get a flame tank, of all things. An engineer flyby. I was like, oh, I'll get a flame tank for those engineers, when really I should have got it ages ago for the grenadiers and the rockets that we had been losing our tanks to. We're waiting for our Temple of Nod, you know.
Construction complete.
That is now ready. We're going to wait for that to charge its nuke.
Construction complete. Reinforcements have arrived.
But as you can see, we've got a good number of light tanks now. We can really move out on the... I've said this like 4 different times in the video, that we can move out on the map and start to secure the enemy's economy. But this time, we really can move out on the map and secure the enemy's economy. Because smart Lovenji is going to actually use that flame tank that he's built. Go, Lovenji! So the run by of the infantry into our base is just going to get cleaned up with very little trouble. And the tanks are waiting just to set up an ambush for the harvester. Just like that. Create a little death hole that the harvester can get itself stuck in.
Building.
And it won't escape from that. Now you may notice the Tiberium silo in the top left is almost completely empty. That's indicating that the AI is very low on money. And I would certainly say that that is true. We have pushed the AI to a point where it is really, really hurting on an economic perspective.
Unable to comply. Building in progress. Construction complete.
Now, I wish my harvesters would not do this.
Reinforcements have arrived.
This is a common thing that occurs in a lot of levels. So the harvesters are just like, oh,
Unit.
the safest place is to death. And we lose an entire harvester full of Tiberium there to my own wall of tanks and their stupid AI. Combination of the two.
Building.
So you do have to do some hand-holding with these harvesters. They are not intelligent units.
Reinforcements have arrived.
AI, pathfinding, all of that for the original Command & Conquer was not
Construction
the greatest. This game was made in 1995, of course.
Building.
Completely revolutionized and defined the RTS genre. Dune 2 being the first game, but this one being one that really started to refine on mechanics that we would identify and recognize.
Building.
So I'm creating another stealth tank, and this stealth tank's purpose is going to be a suicide unit that I'm going to run into the GDI base, in the hopes that it reveals the base. I want to identify the key nuclear warhead target, basically. I want to find the point where once I drop the bomb, GDI will be completely crippled. Now there's no other strategy to this base other than once you get to the back of the base they will spawn in some mammoths. Those are a free spawn, a reinforcements trigger, as opposed to them suddenly getting money or something. So be mindful of that as you go to the back of the base. Otherwise, all that remains for this level is to scout out the base, nuke it, and clean it up. So I'll be quiet for the rest of this mission and let the sound effects of the game and the music carry itself. There's the nuke. And I'll see you in the outro, guys.
Yes, moving out. Moving out. Yes. Moving.
Unit lost.
Unit. Affirmative. Yes.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost. Unit lost.
Moving up. Yes, sir.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
Reinforcements have arrived. Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Moving out.
Construction complete. Building.
Yes, sir.
Reinforcements have
Unit
arrived.
acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unable to comply. Building in progress. Construction complete.
Yes, affirmative.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Construction complete.
Yes, sir.
Reinforcements
Yes, sir.
have arrived.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Building. Unit
Yes,
lost.
moving out. Moving out.
Building. Unit lost. Construction complete. Reinforcements have arrived.
Unit acknowledged. Yes, sir. Moving out.
Construction complete. Building. Reinforcements have
Acknowledged.
arrived.
Affirmative. Moving out. Acknowledged. Yes, affirmative.
Unit lost.
Yes, acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Moving out. Moving out.
Construction
Moving out.
complete. Reinforcements have arrived. Unit lost.
Yes. Ready and wait. Right away, sir.
Building. Unit
Yes,
lost.
sir. Moving.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Moving out. Moving out.
Construction complete. Building. Reinforcements have
Acknowledged.
arrived.
Moving out.
Construction complete.
Moving out. Moving out.
Construction complete. Building. Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes.
Primary building
Yes.
selected.
No, moving out.
Construction complete.
Reporting. Moving out.
Reinforcements have
Ready
arrived.
and waiting. Yes, sir. Vehicle reporting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Moving out. Affirmative. Moving out. Yes, sir. Waiting. Affirmative. Moving out. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Moving out. Moving out. Moving out. Waiting or affirmative. Moving out. Yes, sir. Moving out. Moving. Yes, sir. Reporting. Right away, sir. Moving in. Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Yes, affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Moving out. Affirmative. Moving out.
Building.
Yes, yes, sir.
Unable to comply. Building in progress. Construction
Out of
complete.
way, sir.
Construction
Moving
complete.
out. Yes, sir.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Vehicle
Building.
not a problem.
Construction
Yes, sir.
complete.
Moving. Roger.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Unit.
Building.
Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Construction
Not a problem.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Unit.
Building.
Moving out. Yes, sir.
Construction complete.
Affirmative. Unit.
Reinforcements
Yes, sir.
have arrived.
Yes,
Building.
sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Construction complete.
Ready and waiting. Yes,
Reinforcements have
yes, sir.
arrived.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Got it. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Mission accomplished.
That was Brotherhood of Not Covert Operations Mission 3 Eviction Notice, and you may notice why it is probably their most difficult mission, or at least their longest mission. It's quite a challenge to establish your base with how aggressive they are, and the fact that they have a lot of the tip fields covered by very powerful tanks, and you don't have a lot of great technology available to you. So it could be quite a challenge, but we managed to soldier through. Anyway, as always, leave a comment, share the video, subscribe, and let me know what you'd like to see me do in future videos. We're coming to the end of the Command and Conquer original series. I will still be completing the remaster, but we will be looking for other strategy-type games to play. I've got a suggestion of Warlords Battle Cry 3, but we'll see what else comes up. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.